Hello, everybody. So today is Monday. It is a beautiful day outside today, and I am really excited. Mondays for most people are really drab because it's getting back up into the routine of going to work, taking the children to school that have recently started, or just getting on with your busy schedule or life. So today I want to get on just for a few minutes and give you guys some inspiration that is going to carry you through the week, hopefully through the month. Hopefully you will carry it with you throughout your lifetime and apply it so that you can see things come to fruition in your life. So my name is Patricia. I want to welcome you to the dialogue, and I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. So yesterday, as well as this morning, I was up and I was thinking about things that are meant to take place in our lives. So we know that oftentimes we do have a destiny and a purpose on our life, but sometimes we live it backwards, meaning that you will start out on a journey and you may have some goals and things and objectives that you want to execute in your life. However, when they suddenly appear or manifest or come to fruition, it doesn't always look as though you thought it would. And at the same time, it was always what you were meant to do. So sometimes you're learning in the process of life what you're going to be doing in the future. So it's backwards. You're not doing today what you will be doing 10 years from now if you're creating new visions and new missions for yourself. You start out with a beginning, you go through a transition, and then you arrive at that place. So today, with that in mind and with that in heart, I want to talk about what is meant to be will be. What is meant to be will be. And when I think about that, I think about the word inevitable, which means that it is sure to happen and is unavoidable. So I'm going to go back to when I was like 12 years old and I was a little girl. And in school, they asked us, what is it that you would like to be when you get older? You know, you do those career assessments and they ask you, when you are a child, what is it that you would like to become? And I will never forget the booklet. It was blue. It was white. It had this little ant on it. And it seems as though the ant was going somewhere on the paper. Please don't ask me why it was an ant. I have no understanding why it was an ant on this booklet. Nevertheless, when they asked what I wanted to be, I put on there that I wanted to be a psychologist and a heart doctor. And let me tell you how life comes full circle and those things that are inevitable and what you're meant to do come to pass in your life. So as I said, I was 12 years old when they asked me what I wanted to be. The funny part about it was that the word psychologist, who says that? And it was ironic because I actually spelled it correct. I actually spelled it right on my first time without any help from any teachers. And so as I've gone through life myself, I have experienced so many things that were strategically placed in my life to cause me distress, heartbreak, and inner turmoil. So please follow me as I want to help someone today understand some of the things that you're going through in your life are not to make your life difficult, but it is part of the process of preparation. So I just changed my Instagram name to The Heart Doctor, which is so funny to me because I had completely forgot about that until I did this podcast. So nevertheless, so in my life, I have had opportunities to counsel people, give people wisdom, give people insight, knowledge, resources, and things that will help them on this journey called life. More than anything that I am starting to see is that people are in places around people and hobbies and habits, but they're heartbroken. In the Bible, it says, above all things, it tells us to guard our heart because out of it flows the issues of life. But when I'm thinking about the physical heart, the heart in our chest that pumps blood and, make sure everything, it's a lifeline. When I think about that in my mind, I can't fathom that heart has memory. That it dredges up these memories and things and has people ruminating on heartbreak or people that have passed away. And I don't think that that's the heart that they're talking about. Now, we know we have two organisms in our body, which is our heart and our brain, and they both beat and pump. Okay. So follow me. When I'm thinking about the heart, when it says guard the heart, I'm thinking about the mind. And I'll tell you why. In your mind is where memories are stored, not just in your conscious and your subconscious. Your subconscious is the area where you don't necessarily always pay attention to it. These are like dreams and childhood events and things stored that don't always come immediately to the surface. And when I think about the mind, when it says guard your mind, that can be against things that you see, things that you watch, things that you entertain, and memories, because out of it flows the issues of life. And so I wanted to pinpoint that there to go back to my main point. The inevitable. I said that I wanted to be a heart doctor and I wanted to be a psychologist. Psychologists deal with the psyche, which is the mind. And if you think about all of this and put it together, heartbreak is not about your heart and your chest. Heartbreak is about a broken mind. It can be about the way that you think and the way that you perceive things, the way that you view your outlook, your output of information that you receive. We know that mental illness is something that plagues many communities, many households, many families, and it is on the rise. And personally, I believe it's because people are not willing to forgive. People are not willing to let things go. Meaning, if you let the thing go, you're not consistently talking about it all the time. You're not rehearsing what happened to you. When you rehearse the thing, it continually makes you mad or sad or makes you feel a certain type of way. And then ultimately that becomes your disposition in life. You become a sad person. You become a sulking person. You become a worried person. Whatever it is that you perceive has happened to you and however you think about it on a daily basis, that is what it is going to be your ultimate makeup. So today, the inevitable. As you can see, when I was 12 years old, I stated that I wanted to be something. There was a career in a field, in a lane that I wanted to be in. Okay? And that is what I'm currently doing right now. I am a counselor. I counsel people. I help their psyche. I help them to think about things differently and see things differently. That was inevitable. That was unavoidable. It was something that I was meant to do. Even though my life has gone through many transitions and taken many changes and many different routes that I've tried to pursue, in Jeremiah 29:11, it says that God knows the plans that he has for you. So let me take you back to about when I was in my 20s. Well, actually, let's just go back to when I was coming out of high school. Everybody knows when you come out of high school, you know, they're pushing college on you, and some people are going to go to college and others will not. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because everything that you're meant to do does not necessarily mean that you have to go to college or attend a university. However, that's what I embarked to do. I went to the University of Akron. I started with a field and a degree in psychology. However, for this particular class, the average for each student that they were receiving in the class was a D. If you got a C, you were pretty smart, because everybody was flunking this class. I got discouraged. I decided to switch my major to nursing. However, when I did that, unfortunately, I was involved in about 4 or 5 car accidents, which caused me to have to come out of school. And then I just went to working. But I immediately was given an opportunity to mentor young girls. There you see that opportunity again, counseling. And this happened throughout all of my life. I've lived with people. I've counseled them through drug addictions, molestation, through rape, through poverty, through all different types of things that I myself have even been plagued with. And it just seems like no matter where I am, if a sentence is coming out of my mouth, it's with some type of insight or instruction or something to help someone. The inevitable. Okay, so I recently went back to school. I obtained another degree in the same field that I'm supposed to be in. So when you think about the word inevitable, it's unavoidable, meaning it doesn't matter how many times you try and go around it. It doesn't matter how many times you try not to do it. Ultimately, you are going to end up doing this thing. you're going to end up in that field. You're going to end up in that relationship. You're going to end up in that career. You're going to end up in that city or state. It's inevitable. Now, you can detour and derail yourself and try and go around it and not do it. But ultimately, it's going to happen because it's what you're meant to do. It's your gift. It's your act of service. I tell my patients all the time, this is how we pay our rent on earth, fulfilling the purpose as to why we were created, why we were born. It's an act of service. And so right now and as of today, you may be in a place where you may be going down a journey and down a path, which is life. It may seem dark, as though you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know where to go. It may seem as though resources are drying up, and it may seem as though time is running out. That's not what happens. Sometimes for your inevitable experience, relationship, career, job, locational move, things and doors have to shut down. And when that happens, it is to redirect you to where God ultimately desires you to go. Because remember, I told you, sometimes you can start out with a dream or a vision, and sometimes you won't know what it is. But God knows what it is, and He will direct your steps according to the path that He wants you to take. And many of you, I feel like this is for a couple, if not a lot of you. Know what you're meant to do. Know who you're supposed to be with and or marry. Know what state or city you're supposed to live in or country. Know what job or profession that you're supposed to be in, but you are having difficulty because it seems like thing after thing after thing just keeps coming up and you're not getting a break. Oftentimes when that happens, you just have to lay yourself down and rest and continue to surrender your will to what God wants you to do. You tell Him, not my will, but thy will be done. You make it simple. You don't get in a frantic tizzy or get anxious or overwhelm yourself because you don't know the path that you're supposed to take. It is perfectly fine because God, who has given you this purpose, this destiny to fulfill, will bring it to pass as long as you're asking Him and petitioning Him. Father, I want to do your will. Help me to execute it and fulfill it. And it's really that simple. It's really that simple. So the inevitable and unavoidable, what is meant to be, will be, it will happen in your life. It will take place in your life. As you can see, I was 12. I'm in my 30s now. I'm in my mid-30s. And nothing stopped this mission, this purpose that God gave to me. The things that happened to me, even in unfortunate circumstances and bad situations that occurred, only fueled as well as gave me the experience and wisdom that I need to help counsel and help other people. So nothing was lost. And I want to speak that and say that over you. Nothing that you went through has been lost. It will all be used to fulfill your purpose. And the inevitable, the unavoidable is going to take place in your life. All you have to do is surrender and continue to believe. So I thank you so much for tuning into this podcast, A Dialogue. It is my hope as well as prayer that you share this with someone else. Maybe the specific conversation on the podcast wasn't for you. Maybe you got something out of it, but you can do a wonderful service to another person that needs to be inspired by sharing the podcast with them. Stay tuned, everybody. Don't forget that you can also subscribe to have the podcast and get a notification. Leave me some comments and let me know what kind of information or series you would like to be distributed on this podcast. And I'll make sure to keep uploading them, keep you inspired and informed. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'll get back with you later. Bye. Good morning, everybody. And it is currently early morning. However, when I was driving this morning, I just wanted to get on to do this quick broadcast so that you guys are able to be encouraged today. So, my name is Patricia Tomlinson. You have tuned into The Dialogue. If you tuned into previous sessions, you will see that I call this The Dialogue because as I talk to you, no, you are not able to talk back to me. However, If you listen to the information, it will go inside of your brain, your mind, and you will start to have a conversation with yourself about what was addressed, and then hopefully you will go out and share it with someone else, and you guys can conversate or process what has been spoken. So today, welcome to the dialogue. So as I am driving this morning, it is extremely early. It's about 5:30. However, I've been up since about 3:45 this morning. That's about the normal time for me. 3:30, 3:45 in the morning to get up. However, this morning when I was driving to where I am headed, I heard the words, "It's going to happen." It's going to happen for you. So when you think about how we have been going through the sequence of coming out of certain things, something ends, then you are at the point of a transition, which means that you are going through, it can be the middle phase. And it can seem very hard and difficult because you don't have a roadmap. You don't know who to talk to. Maybe little pieces of insight are coming to you as far as which way to take, but it's not a lot because, for one, it's a faith journey. And then when you get close to the end, which is when you're approaching the end, it just seems like all hell breaks loose, difficulty, people that shouldn't be in your life start coming back. You may start making behaviors or doing behaviors and making decisions that are not necessarily healthy, and it just seems as though it's not going to work. And then you make it to that place and you're extremely tired, okay? You're tired, but you're also in like a waiting cell. Like, what I'm really learning is that you can make it to a place and it will not feel like what you thought it would feel like. For instance, maybe you're getting a college degree, you finally crossed the stage. It doesn't feel like what you thought. Maybe you've met that dream person, that's your destiny partner. It doesn't feel like it because you've gone through so much even to be able to tell if you're meant to be with that person. It just seems like it's not what it was supposed to be. And you're exhausted. And you're at a place right now where you're actually questioning what is going on in my life. But I want to tell you that it's going to happen for you, okay? If you've done the work, if you started out with a vision, no, it doesn't always happen as the way that you think it should. And that's where sometimes disappointment comes in. But you have to open yourself back up to the possibility that it's going to happen for you. I'm a type of person, I'm a perspective person. I like to look at different perspectives after I process mentally through a situation. And a lot of times after you've processed, you're exhausted because you're looking at all the possibilities. And more than often, we are looking at this situation as though it could be impossible. Because when we set our minds out on a vision, it is something that can't be achieved in a day. Not those long visions where it requires character changes in your mentality, changes in relationships. Sometimes even things require locational changes. I just heard a young woman say that a lot of people are products of their environments. Environments consist of people, places, and things. And sometimes to get clarity, you have to move to a different location, or you have to move away from friends or people that keep you in the same mindset, or you have to move out of yourself, meaning move out of your way. If you have gone through the process, like I said, that you started with a vision, you find yourself going through the transition, that middle part, then you're coming up towards the end where it is extremely hard. You hit the arrival point, the threshold of finally, and for some reason in there, it just seems like you have to press a little bit longer because some things are being fine-tuned. Okay, but that doesn't mean that it is not going to happen for you. If you've changed or transformed, evolved, that thing has no choice but to find you, because now you're the person that can acquire it. You're the person that can possess it. So just like the children of Israel, they went through a transition. They were in bondage. It was their time. It was the cutoff point for their bondage to be over, okay? So then God sent somebody. He sent Moses because it was their time. They needed a leader. And maybe you don't have that. Maybe this vision is something that you just need to keep to yourself so that it's not disturbed or hindered. But the children of Israel, they had Moses, and Moses went and spoke on their behalf. They were tired. They were exhausted. It was close to 430 years for them to being in bondage. By this time, you have to think, they've probably lost their identity. They've probably lost mental strength from being abused and mentally and physically abused, emotionally. Their identity was stripped. So if you notice, Moses had been in the wilderness and away from them, learning who he was to go back to help them come out. And so that's my prayer for you, that if you need help coming out, that God sends somebody to you that already knows who they are, and that they will latch on to you to help bring you up and bring you out, help you cross the threshold. Nevertheless, Moses goes and talks to Pharaoh. They're in a transition. God has already given the word for freedom. He already told Moses, I'm sending you back. I heard my children's cry. I want them free. That was the vision. They go through a transition of multiple difficulties where God had to use plagues in order to get the people to come free, get out, because the people that were over them were so stiff-necked, like, no, we need them. We don't want them free. But nevertheless, God said freedom. So nothing was going to stop that word. Nothing was going to inhibit that word. Now, you notice it took some time. And even the children of Israel were irritated because their work got harder. How many of you noticed that when it is time to come to a different level, it may seem harder? Nevertheless, God still had Moses in motion. Okay? So, finally, Pharaoh said, okay, I'll let them go. And as they were on their way out, and as many of us on our way out, right before you get to cross over, things start coming back. People start coming back. They're realizing that you're free. So they come back to try to disturb your identity, to disturb who you are, to make you second guess what has been spoken to you, over you, or what's going to happen in your life. So they came back. However, God still made a way for them. It still happened for them. It's still going to happen for you. He still made a way for them to cross over. And in the crossing over, those things that try to come back, those things, those enemies, those people that made it difficult for them to obtain what God said, freedom, God drowned them. And if you notice that a lot of times when people come up against children of God and try to destroy them and cause problems to hinder where God said they should be or where they're going, God will drown them in their own plans, in their own plots to destroy what he said. So finally they crossed over, okay? But then they had the waiting period before they got to the promised land. Nevertheless, it still happened for them. And some of them, many of them died off in the wilderness because they wouldn't change their mindset. However, for the ones that did change their mindset, for the ones that did transform, for the ones who did end up becoming different, they inherited the promised land. So Joshua and Caleb, they were of a different spirit. So they were the ones that inhabited the promised land because they thought differently. They weren't institutionalized, indoctrinated, or bound in the way that they thought. They knew that they had blessings coming to them. So a couple more points and I'm going to let you go. You have to have confidence that's for you. What's for you is for you. You have to have confidence, which is faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. No, you may not see it, you may perceive it, but you know that God has something good in store for you. You need confidence to obtain it. There's a knowing something good is going to happen for me. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know exactly which way it's coming from. However, I have expectation that it's going to happen for me, which can require humility, because of course they walked out of bondage. They walked out, they followed the leader, but when they came to a threshold of difficulty, they didn't know how they were going to cross over, so they had to humble themselves and ask for help. They prayed to God and asked for help. And Moses inevitably was the one that God heard, and he opened the Red Sea for them. So if you see, sometimes you're crying out and you don't know where your remedy is going to come from. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in expectation. That does not mean that you shouldn't be looking out. It doesn't mean that you should stop trusting and knowing that God has already created provision for you. He's created provision for the vision that he's given to you. If your vision is from God, he has a responsibility as the guarantor to bring provision for it to come to pass. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to do what he says to do, which is obedience, humility to understand that he wants the glory from the situation, confidence because you have to have the faith to know it's going to happen for you. I just wanted to get on really quickly and give this brief broadcast. Share this with somebody else. If you know someone has been going through and they're waiting and it's looking a little dim and dark, share this with somebody to encourage them. And I will be on with more content later on this week to encourage you on your journey. Thank you so much for tuning into the dialogue, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.